Hello, folks. Back again with ancient cosmography and um, so this is showing some of the ancient, prehistoric, upper Paleolithic rock art of Ukraine. I'm not sure if this is all from Ukraine because some of the photos that are from this site are from other places, but it looks to be Paleolithic rock art of some kind from somewhere. And so I'm just illustrating, my theory that these are not, some people are saying that these are records of hunts and, different animals and stuff. And I mean, they may incorporate that in to it. I mean, it's obviously there are animals in it, but I don't think that's the point per se of these paintings. I think they're maps. And I think when you look at stuff like this, stuff like this, stuff like this, it becomes clear, or it should become clear, that these are not meant to be literal, realistic depictions, that these are stylized, symbolic representations, and probably of islands or other geography or topography. So yeah, like let's say maybe this is retrograde and this is North America and this is South America and like this is Florida and this is like Brazil and stuff. Who knows? Hard. It seems like the further back you go, the more stylized it is, because they had much larger brains, during those times. They were much smarter than modern people are. Like one person could probably, one of the Cro-Magnon could probably, memorize basically the entire sky and most of the earth, because their brains were like up to like 2,000 cc's, cubic centimeters, whereas ours are much smaller, especially mine. But yet somehow even I can figure some of this stuff out a bit. At least I can tell that these are not depictions of a hunt. At least yeah, anyway. Yeah, so this was something I thought was kind of possible, that this cave painting represents Shetland, and maybe without this, because this is basically a separate island as the head here in this Egyptian avatar. So I was thinking that maybe in this earlier avatar, that that basically this part here would be these lines. I'm not sure what they're meant to represent. Maybe it's like motion lines, like action lines from him running. So yeah, I'm not 100% on this, but certainly this could fit. This could be Shetland. Certainly, if you think this is a human being, and if you think that people with 2,000 cubic centimeter brains are literally trying to depict an actual human and do it like this, and they don't know how to put a head on them, then got to catch yourself on, mate, as they say in Ulster. So the Red Hand of Ulster, is seems to be this reddish part of the Antrim Hills, and this shape along the Antrim coast. This is basically where my paternal ancestors are from. The Millars are from Antrim. Campbells are from here, from Argyll. And so, yeah, that's the story of there's a lot of different versions of it. Often they say it's two chiefs that were trying to become Lord of Ireland, and whoever touched it first or seized it first would own it. And so one of them used his right hand to cut off his left hand and throw it at the shore. But there's other versions that say they were giants and that the hand left a red mark on the rocks. So that would be this. And there's even versions that say it's Finn McCool, which would fit with the fact that Finn McCool, the giant, has basically the same name as Britain has in both the Greek and the Egyptian traditions. Basically the white-haired one, the White Island, for the White Cliffs of Dover. So, and this is that 5,500-year-old Egyptian, Hierakonpolis map of Britain as a giant, and seemingly his hand is right on Ulster, basically on Antrim, so that would fit with his arm being Argyll right there, and his harness thing being Wales. Maybe, yeah, I think that's his harness. And then Leinster is like the pale is like part of the harness, and then this is Ulster, Connacht, and Munster. And this might be a mace. It's either a club or a mace or some other type of club, and that seems to be the Outer Hebrides. And so that the Kingdom of Ulster at some point had no rightful heir, due to which a boat race to be taken. Whoever's hand touches the shore of Ireland shall be made the king. So this sounds like a mix of stories, because this is Ulster and this is Ireland. Makes it sound like really it's whoever touches it becomes the heir of Ireland, because otherwise why would it say Ireland right there instead of Ulster? One of the two, desiring the kingship, on seeing that he's probably losing the race, cut off his hand, throwing it to the shore, and won the kingship. The hand is most likely red to signify the fact that it had been covered in blood. Other version indicate that the king who had cut off his hand belonged to the O'Neill clan, which probably explains its connection with them. All other versions conclude that it was none other than Niall of the 9 hostages, who severed his own hand to win his crown from his opponent. So the importance of hostages in Irish tradition also, of course, fits, because I see these as the 3 hostages, but I think there could be other avatars in which even Britain is composed of various hostages, and etc. I mean, it's kind of a dark, or kind of a twisted symbolism, but what can you do? Another myth relates that the 2 giants who engaged in battle and had one of his hand cut off by the other, and a red imprint of the hand was left on the rocks, which is believed to have been used by the O'Neill. So these could be the same story, that these are 2 giants. They're trying to get the king. They're trying to become Lord of Ireland, and one of them cuts off his hand, and it leaves a red imprint on the Antrim Hills. And I guess the other giant would be represented by the probably Galloway would be the other arm of the other giant that's trying to reach out and grab Ireland. Galloway being like the closest part of Britain besides Argyll. And I think, they talk about Finn McCool, the giant, touched the salmon with his thumb and touched his tooth with his thumb, thereby gaining wisdom. So I think that this, this is Skye, I believe, the Isle of Skye. And so that I think this is his thumb, this is his fist, and this is, his arm, even though it's kind of detached. He has a habit of having detached limbs and shit, I guess. But, and then I think this is the salmon, or it could be this. It could be this, or maybe even both somehow in different, because sometimes I think they use it as like a cartoon where there's different sequences for the same figure, like, like maybe this guy is also this guy, and so it could be they use the land to represent like a series of events. So in that case, there's a chance that the salmon could be both this and this. Who knows? But it's probably one or the other. It's probably at least one or the other. And then I think when he puts his thumb in his mouth, it's this island or islands, islets or whatever there, and he touches his tooth. So I think that's his wisdom tooth right there. So that's how he gains wisdom. So I'm not sure if that's where the idea of wisdom tooth comes from. I mean, of course, wisdom tooth makes sense anyway because it comes in later in childhood, I guess. But let's see. Try to get this stuff out of the way. So yeah, I found out that his name Finn is also taken from a story. Finn means white, but it's taken from a story where his hair turns white and stays white forever, basically. So that fits with in the Egyptian Book of Two Ways. Britain is called the white-haired one. And the Fenian cycle consists of hero Finn McCumail or whatever and his band of men, a warring and hunting organization known as the Fian. So I think those would be all the different giant avatars that would be composed within Britain and perhaps within Ireland as well. So yeah, you see that just as in the story, it's like the left hand here that has the stump and has the hand cut off, and then it's the right hand here that's throwing it, I guess. Jura and Isla. And let's see. So this is seems like a strong possibility for these 34,000-year-old painting in Croatia. It's the oldest known Balkan paintings in Romualdova Cave, Croatia. So, some of the oldest art in Europe. And so it makes sense, Plato said that Atlantis was like the world empire, like before, 14,000 years ago or so. So, and going back much further back beyond that. And so it would make sense that since he said it's the, centered in the Atlantic islands, that would preeminently include Madeira and the Azores. And so, yeah, this is Pico of the Azores. It's big booty and lack of a head and lack of a lower leg. And this is Desertus. Actually, I should double check on this because I know that this is part of the Desertus Islands, but there might be another more specific name for this one. But yeah, it's in Madeira. So I guess if you're coming from the Mediterranean, you would get to here via here. You would first encounter Madeira and then you'd go on to the Azores. So yeah, this one, it seems to have this little bent knee here and a smaller butt. I think it's like this part here. And then there's an indent, which I think there's a little indent there that's hard to see here. And then it's wider towards the top, which is of course true. And then it has this little like face with like a pointy nose. So this would be like, if true, this is like the oldest map that I've been able to really decipher, but I'm sure there's older ones. See, this I already showed. I just added the text onto it. It's Isla de los Estados Argentina, 5,500-year-old Egyptian map. And it seems to refer to this place like around the southern tip of South America, potentially in the Book of Two Ways, as the slaughtering place of Sothis, basically of Sirius, of like the southern stars, because it's really gnarly, like sailing around the southern tip of like the Cape Horn, basically. So seems to reference that in the Book of Two Ways. This is just another comparison showing Cuba and like part of the Bahamas. So this one, it's just a better photo where you can really see both his face, which comes down like that, and you can see his legs, which represent like this curly part at the back. And you might even be able to see the tail, like maybe the tail is whatever that little line is there, some kind of seamount. And then, the Bahamas being this circle surrounded by all these islands shaped like goats, basically. And we meet again. It's another close-up of Finn McCool, potentially with his thumb. His thumb, and putting the thumb in the mouth, touching the tooth. I just put an eye of Horus or whatever on him. This, I really don't know if this is legit or not. It was a thought I had that this could be the face of this guy, and that these horns would be like the Great Barrier Reef. His ear would be Tasmania, I guess. And, this area is referred to, this is a Mayan avatar. So this area in the Egyptian Book of Two Ways is referred to as the kneeling ones, who live by their boomerangs, by their throw sticks. So that fits here with him being kneeling. So it could be that this knee is this, and then this part here is like, I don't know. I'm just saying it could fit in some certain type of way. It could even be that this arm somehow represents that peninsula there, whatever it's called. York Peninsula, I guess. And oh yes, this is a close-up of that one that seemed to be in the Croatian one. And so this would be its butt, and this would be its legs. Desertus Islands. And yeah, just emphasizing again the fact that Atlantis was said to have been basically the center of the global civilization and empire and whatever before during the Ice Age. So it would make sense that this would be a very important god. Like this is one of the only gods on the map that is prograde instead of retrograde, which might be significant. So yeah, and they say, like Plato said, that the Atlanteans, they basically controlled Africa all the way to Egypt, or at least to the borders of Egypt, and Europe all the way until Italy or something. So I don't know if that included Croatia, but at least if not, they would be right near there. And they would probably be trading with them and stuff. This is a close-up of that Desertus Islands, and this seems to be the indent, or at least the furthest part of the indent above their butt is like this inlet or bay or whatnot. Ulster, Connacht, and Munster, the three hostages of that avatar, seemingly. Yeah, here's where it shows that, and it actually refers to this figure as Finn McCool.